I'm just gonna be quiet for that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm starting two at once. Hey everybody, it's Bowed Not Broken, the Daily Bend, and the amazing Nettie Frank, and it's chef, it's mom, it's entrepreneur, it's everything, and
donuts.
Donuts. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We have delicious donuts, and that place. Gosh, I forgot the name of that place. What's that place called? Something like
Beyond Glaze.
Beyond. That's right. Beyond the rolls.
Stop it! Stop it! It is not. We use
kidding.
healthy frosting since everything's from scratch.
We wanted to, and I didn't get a chance to highlight it today, but we wanted to talk about 13 Reasons. And last week we talked a little bit about depression and suicide, and nobody better than kind of the generation, right, your generation right now, that it's important to kind of talk about it, continue to discuss it, but there's so much talk in the schools and in the education system and with parents right now about the 13 Reasons. I did want to get your take on it, and if you're out there and you'd like to contribute or make a statement or whatever, I'm going to try a really good job to kind of keep an eye on what's going on up there, and so we're
get involved with us.
Please,
so like if you're following and you have a question or you have a comment about it, whether it's agreeing with us or disagreeing with us, let's just start talking about it. I mean, that's the whole point of all these shows, is we need to start talking more about these topics.
That's why
like tabooed for so
long. That's why it's day 850 something of pulling and pushing people out. So that's why we want to keep the dialogue going.
About this.
Well, we want to keep it going. And I don't know everything, and neither does anybody else.
But we're talking about it.
Exactly.
And last time we did the video, I had quite a few people reach out to me that are struggling with things, and I think that's what is so huge about this, Bo, is that just you and I sitting here having a raw conversation about stuff. Is letting people know that they're not alone out there in these situations, or that their life matters, or that they're struggling and other people are struggling. Like I said last time, we all have shiz. So
right.
Not that we have to go and like plaster it all out there and say what it is.
Right.
But we're all going through something difficult on different levels.
And if you'd like to be involved, and even in the sense, I'd love to have like a little mini town hall or a little mini, with parents and kids, juveniles and teens, and I think it would be fun to do that. So anyway, don't be shy.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
So
okay,
here we go. 13 Reasons Why. It's even in People magazine. It's everywhere. There's petitions to shut it down off of Netflix. There are people saying it's the best show out there. It's the worst show out there. It's getting everything and anything with media coming after it right now. My take on it, I did watch it for quite a few reasons. Because one, it's out there. It's raw. There's talking about all sorts of subjects that we need to talk to as adults and parents with our children. Are teenagers watching it? Yes. Even though you as a parent saying, my child's not watching it, well, guess what? They will find a way. It's the same thing as saying, like, you're not going to go see this rated R movie, or you can't do this. Kids, teenagers, find a way. And so the responsibility as parents and adults is up to us to watch this so we can discuss it and be knowledgeable about it, and then take what we need from it as a learning lesson and to move forward positive in that kind of way.
Detractors, there's been a lot of there's been a lot of detractors on maybe it shows too much, maybe some other things glorifies it. Maybe speak to that a little bit.
Okay. So my opinion, I think in a way it glorified suicide a little bit too much. It glorified all the things that this girl was struggling through. She was being bullied, her friends not being her friends anymore, just all the things that kind of happen in high school, or the snowball effect of one person's action, what it does to other people. So there's so many talking points in it, but it did glorify it, and that's the part I did not like about it. I did not like saying like, okay, guess what? I'm going to go do a bunch of tapes. So all those people that were rude to me, now, guess what? Here you go. But the thing is, like, the part that I did take from this that was so huge and I think is so important is how it affected the parents. All the teenagers and all the other stuff and how it all interacted with the teenagers and stuff is just a dramatic TV show,
right,
in a way.
Right.
But if you saw how it affected the parents, it rocked their world. It crushed them. It crushes people all around you. You think you're alone and you don't have purpose and you don't matter, but then once you do take your life, all those people around you are just crushed and they miss you on a daily basis. And that's the brutal part that I was like, if anything we can teach our kids, like, look, you do matter. And look at like the parents. I mean, you saw at the beginning, the mom was always had her makeup on. She was ready to work. She was doing her normal mom things like, no, you can't go to the party. You know, like, did you do your homework?
Right.
And all that. And then throughout the show, you just saw where her hair's always greasy in a ponytail and she's skinnier because she hasn't eaten. She can't, you know, breathe anymore because her daughter's gone and she doesn't know why. Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely so.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, for anybody watching out there, teenagers or anyone of any age, I know for a fact there's been studies. I mean, I've done some little studies of my own, but there's studies out there that, you know, people that have survived a suicide attempt or attempted suicide, and they've lived, that first few seconds to a person, they've all gone, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done this. And their life flashes in front of their eyes, and, you know, they don't die, and they live, and they wish they hadn't have done it because of moms and dads and grandparents and kids and friends and things like that. And so it's hard to explain that to a young teenager, or even someone my age, that how important they are in everybody's life. And we always reference personal influence. People just don't realize how much influence they have on everyone, and we never even think about that. And that to me, for me, in some situations, is something that motivates me to not want to do that.
Right.
And so anyway, yes, it's an interesting. You know, we're talking about teens, obviously, right now.
Right, but you know what? It also happens in adults. And I'll tell you, a year and a half ago or whatever, when I was in a really bad place, really dark place, there were moments where I was driving and I thought, if I just let go of the wheel, I can't deal anymore.
Right.
It's okay. Like, everything will be okay. But I'm still holding onto the wheel going, and then all of a sudden my next thought is, am I crazy? Like, why would I even do that? But even as adults, we have those dark moments too. And what I've learned through counseling and just going through hard times like that is how to process those feelings. And I think our parents' generation was, we just don't talk about it. You just work it off. If you don't feel good, if you're feeling depressed, you go clean a bedroom or go work it off, you know? And then we didn't know how to deal. But now that we're talking about, you know, even in the movie, after she commits suicide, then there were pictures and posters of stop teen suicide, stop this, you know? And so instead of after something happening, we need to be preventative. Like, we need to teach our young kids, our teenagers, how to process those feelings. How to process when someone says, you can hear them when you're walking behind, like they're walking behind you in school saying, ugh, you know, like, her thighs are huge. That affects someone. Just a comment like that. But how can we be close with our teenagers or adults and friends to process those negative thoughts and turn them around and go, you know what, in my core, I am good, I am beautiful, I am smart, I got this. And try and get past that. But we have to teach them.
There is a bullying aspect to all of this.
Absolutely.
There is a bullying, especially for the teenagers, and I will tell you, but
even
adults, but we're focusing in on the the 13 reasons. But yes, I think that, you know, the bullying aspect is something that not to switch gears, but the state of Utah is, looking at legislation, and there's been some, the Safe Utah app is something that people can use. There's other ways of doing that, but I tend to believe that I think it's incumbent upon all of us as parents, grandparents, friends, when it comes to teenagers, is really, continuing the dialogue, but also giving them options. Let's talk for a minute about, in 13 we'll talk about the panic. I call it that suicide panic by somebody where nothing really resonates with them other than I just can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
I just can't speak to that, if you would.
It's like the fight or flight. It's seriously the chemical in our brain that when something happens that hurts us, that affects us, it's fight or flight. We either want to fight it head on and we want to go, you know what, that wasn't cool, you said that to me, don't ever talk to me again, right? And you stand up for yourself. Or there's the flight where you retreat and go, what do I do now? What do I do? I want to disappear. I don't know how to handle it. I want to go, right? Those are the two reactions that you're going to get. And it's our duty to help teach these kids, teenagers. I mean, even my 8-year-old came home one day and said that someone punched her, and I was like, what? And my mama bear came down to me, and I was like, I want names, I want parents' names, but
yes,
at the same time, I mean, it's starting so young.
It is.
So we need to teach and help guide and keep a safe space that they can come and talk to us about this. The more vulnerable that they can be and feel in a space, those walls come down and they can heal. Same as adults. Walls come down, we can heal, right?
Exactly. And I think, I posted something yesterday. I posted something about someone staying up all night and listening to somebody, for fear that they may, ultimately die by suicide or use suicide as a way to kill themselves. And I was really pleased. And I know there's an army out there. I know there's a lot of people out there, no matter what age, that would step up and spend all night talking to someone out of it.
Absolutely.
I think the important thing, for us today and for any other things we do, is that I think teens obviously are just like adults. There's got to be a way to connect, and we need to, yes, there's therapists, there's counselors, things like that, but we really need to help our teens understand that there are people out there, peers, parents, friends, unconditional people out there that would really listen to them, and hear them out, and sometimes change the course, sometimes not. So what I'm getting at is, through what we're doing and what's been going on in the past, we have a list. I have a list, and I will be giving it to everybody out there, not in a personal way, so nobody knows. But there's so many people I literally had 20 comments. I would do it. I would do it for somebody I don't know.
Just to be there, to let them know they matter in that moment. I even this was oh my gosh, when Olivia was born, I got postpartum, so 8 years ago, right? I was really postpartum depression, and that's serious stuff.
Yeah, no, it's...
it is serious stuff that happens. And I went to one counselor once, and I remember sitting in the office, and I felt like I didn't belong there because I didn't feel like I was crazy. Because for some reason, that's how I associated with counseling or getting help or something like that. Like
Well, you weren't crazy.
No, I was. You know what I mean? Yeah. But in that moment, in that sitting room, I was kind of panicky a little bit, and so I wanted to flight. Right? I want to book it out of there. I had one session with her. And that was it. And I didn't go back. And I was like, I can handle it on my own. I'm tough. I can handle it on my own. But she left me a message about a month later. And all she said on the phone, and mind you, I met this lady once. She said, you came across my mind. I hope you're doing good. I want you to know you matter.
Wow.
And that was it on the message. And I tell you what, that oh my gosh, a random person doesn't know my story, doesn't know my conflicts, doesn't know that I'm up with a colicky baby, and says that I matter. Whew, that's what we need. So with these kind of tools that you have,
and that's what these young people need.
Yes.
If we can get young people to do it to young people, and adults to do it to young people, to tell each other. I think that's really important, and thanks for sharing that. Do you the takeaways to this?
Yes.
From your opinion, and again, everybody has an opinion. Everybody can't.
And we're all entitled to our own opinion.
Would you sit down with your teenager and watch this with them, or would you leave it, or what kind of what would this spur in? Everybody's going to be different. Some people would shy away from it. Others would.
There's major language in it. There is, it shows her at the very end taking her life, which is very raw. There's rape scenes. There is drugs. There's alcohol. There's every single thing in the book that we are trying to protect our children from. Right. So a lot of parents are like, there's no way I will let my child see this. My personal opinion is I've seen it and I watched the whole thing because I wanted to know what the teenagers are watching. And I even found out that an 11-year-old had even seen it, which I went,
yes,
that's too young. I want you to stay innocent as long as possible. But we also, we need to inform them. So I would sit down and watch maybe certain parts that I think are very important for them to understand. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the entire thing. Mm-hmm. But if I say, you can't watch it, they're going to find a way. Right. Everybody has phones. Right. Everybody has Netflix. They can go to a park and watch it by themselves. Like, they're going to watch it and figure it out. You know what I mean? So I would rather be proactive about it and say, okay, we're going to watch this blurb. Now let's talk about it. This is what she was going through, right? How do you think would be a better way to have gone about it instead of this? Or this is what I believe we can do next time. Right. How can we make it better? How can we... Does that make sense?
Sure. Sure.
So I would dissect it in that way to bring it more knowledge instead of just making it scary, because it's the same thing. Kids say, if you say no...
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think the schools are having to deal with some issues with this as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Lots of petitions.
Yeah, I don't know. I know there are parents that are very pro, talking about it and watching it, and then there are some parents that are very, let's not do it. And I think that's where it needs to be. I don't think it, it obviously needs to not be a school kind of an issue. It's a parental issue. I think that's the most important thing, and we need to continue to talk about it.
But there's even I have found out even through the kids in high school. You know how those, is it memes or memes?
It could be
memes. The little how they make.
I think it's memes. I think it's memes, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I don't remember
tomato.
It is what it is, right?
What is it? Yeah.
But they said that there are a lot of things like the picture of her face when she's like super sad, but it has something saying like "get over it." Oh. Like kind of things, right. And so a lot of those are being passed around. So then kids are thinking it's just funny. It's taking it lightly, which. To each their own, but there's definitely, we got to talk about it, parents. We got to talk about it.
And the other thing I did want to talk about, and it's the chemical factor. There are, these young brains, and even in old brains, there are chemical issues that do enhance some of the things that are going on, and we need to talk about that, and how if a parent chooses to use or give their child some kind of a medicine, if you will, or some type of something to help them with the sways or the mania or the depression or whatever it might be. I think that's a parental choice as well. But I was talking with a friend of mine.
There needs to be respect though there between parents.
True.
If you as a parent don't believe in it, right, like the medicine and stuff, that is fine. Can we just have mutual respect for each other, and how each household is trying their best as parents to raise their children? We need to give respect. We can have our own boundaries in our own households, but there needs to be that mutual respect between parents instead of like criticizing other parents because they're not doing what you want them to do. Right.
And I think that, I was talking with somebody yesterday, and, they brought up the whole idea of, suicide being self-serving and being, somewhat of a, well, they're just selfish, and I think that's a horrible comment. That they didn't make that comment, but they've lived by that. You know,
Yeah.
well, that would be selfish if you did that. What people don't realize is that these people are in crisis. They're in crisis, and they're normal. It's normal to be once in a while to have crisis in your life and not know how to handle it. I mean, especially when we're talking to teens, they're growing up, their frontal lobes aren't developed yet, yada yada. The chemical changes in their bodies. I mean, it's a wonder that, again, it's a wonder that they get through junior high and high school to begin with. And so
it's really true.
I think that's
and I'm
something
not
we have
laughing to make
no.
light. Like, I'm agreeing. Like, it's
I think
insane.
that's something we have to remember, and we have to give them, we have to approach them, talk to them in that way. Not in a pussyfooting kind of way, but in a way we understand what they're going through, or we try to understand, because we're not going through it anymore, but they are. And so I think that's a point that we need to remember, that, you know, suicide is not some can argue it's a selfish act, but I will argue to the opposite, that it's not a selfish act. It's an act of desperation in some cases, of chemical imbalance, of not knowing how to get out of a situation. And what
they
I
don't
think,
know how to process it.
Exactly.
Or it's also like, I'm a burden. And I don't want to be a burden on other people. So it's not, and I don't see that as a selfish moment. I can see that as being like, I'm trying to help everybody else not have to worry about me anymore. And that can start messing with you, right? Saying like, well, I'm trying to protect everybody else from how bad I'm hurting. Right?
This is Bowed Not Broken, the Daily Bend, and this is a special thing that we're going to be doing from time to time. We're talking about 13 reasons why, and I know it's just dialogue, and we do have somebody that said something. They said, I read the book. Why don't I put my glasses on back there? That's why I have them there. Just happened to run across it at the library. I truly recommend it for everyone. Cruelty comes in all forms. That's a great comment. I don't know how, I haven't read the book.
Yeah, it was a book first.
So I don't know the contrast between, you know, the book and the movie. And you know, if anybody does know that, please comment. We're going to put this up, you know, after we're done as well, and you can comment, or and we're going to do this again. And so if you have some insight that you'd like to help with, or you have anything, or join us.
Join us if you want to come in or whatever, like, let's
talk about it. Nobody's right. Nobody's right. Well, we're not all right, and nobody's wrong. I mean, you know, I used to be a teacher, and there is no stupid questions or stupid, you know, and love to engage teenagers as much as I can, because they don't really talk about it very often, and that's what we're trying to do. And
I will tell you that bullying at younger ages affects them the rest of their life. Again, personal story for me, 5th grade, I was bullied beyond. Kids brought knives to school saying they were going to cut me. In art class, they walked behind me and cut a big chunk of my hair out. All sorts of lies spread around. At recess time, I hung by the teacher out there because a couple times the kids thought it'd be funny to pants me in front of the entire school. Now that is like heavy, like, bullying, and so my parents removed me, put me in a private school, which made me get my self-confidence back and everything. But then came high school, I was right back in high school with all those same people. Let me tell you, it was tough. So I understand when it comes to those type of things, and how it can affect your core. And so when these teenagers, they're building their core, so when they're adults, how they handle life, how they handle things, that's why we got to talk about this now. That's why we got to talk about it and really help and make people matter. Let them know.
And that's why we're doing this. And that's why we do it. We do it every day. I know Nettie in her own way. I know a lot of you out there every day are reaching out to somebody, or, you know, you get an opportunity to talk to somebody. Today just happened to be about teenagers and 13 reasons why. I appreciate your insight. We'll talk more about it. We'll definitely talk more about it. And talking, I know sometimes people will say talking is cheap, but the more we keep the dialogue going, the more that you see people doing push-ups and and talking about it. And I mean, there's so many people out there other than myself that are involved in it. And I really don't know until I post something like I did yesterday, where people are they're actually actively engaged in reaching out to people. And when we say reaching out or reach out to somebody, we're not trying to force you to do that. It's just little subtle highs. How are you? Listening, whether it be your family, your friends, your parents, your associates at work, whatever it is. This, unfortunately, I get a day-to-day, kind of a news update as to who has taken their life, and it's happening far too much. I know we and all of us have saved hundreds and hundreds of people. It's hard to keep track of it because a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
Right.
But those that want to talk about it and want to help, I just hope that you'll continue to post what you post, and we're going to continue to post what we post, and just kind of make this thing. Government can't do everything, and there's some legislation that's going through, and there's hopefully maybe there's another like a 333 line or some kind of national line, but those means they're not as human as reaching out to someone. So if you're in crisis, reach out to someone you can connect with that that's unconditional. If you can't find anybody like that, then reach out to me, reach out to Nettie,
message us,
and I guarantee you we have an army that will speak to you, whether you're 8 years old.
Yeah.
I've seen it as young as 7 and 8, all the way up to 70, 75 years old. And so.
And a piece of advice also that I can just give you, if you haven't gone through these kind of moments, but you want to help, if someone comes to you and just says, if you say to them, "How are you today?" and they go, "You know what? I'm just feeling kind of depressed." The best thing you can do, instead of being awkward about it or not knowing what to say, just grab them, not physical touch, like, but, just grab their arm and say, "You matter."
Right.
You matter.
And
you
I'm
matter
going to
today,
listen.
you matter tomorrow, and you're going to matter for the rest of both of our lives.
Right.
And you get in their face and you just tell them they matter. That's all you have to say in that moment, and you won't believe what it will do for that person.
Thank you. We're going to end on that, and we're going to end on if you just listen. If you just listen to somebody, I guarantee you that will create a bond that is really important for them, because that's in some cases that's all they need, is someone to listen to what not solve their problems. That could be later on, help them solve their problems, but that's really something that's important. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the comments. Hopefully we'll get, the more we do this consistently. I know it's 10 o'clock in the morning here in Utah, and a lot of people are working and all that. So I hope you get to see it later on. I'll throw it on YouTube as well. And we're going to continue this, and we'll announce it a little bit more. I didn't have time this morning. So
I know, neither did I. Sorry.
Thanks again, Nettie.
Anytime. We'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you very much. And remember, life is all about the bend.
Yep.